Well, look, we've got spades in the ground on HS2 and we're cracking on with delivering it. But funnily enough, I was just talking to people here in Burnley about what we're doing for them to level up. We've just announced £1 billion of investment in 55 towns across the UK, because there's lots of different ways that we can level up. It's not just about our big cities. More people live in towns than big cities, and we want to back them with long-term funding, which we're going to put local people in control of. I was just talking to the team here about how they can be involved. Each of these towns is going to get £20 million in long-term funding, and they can focus on their priorities. Nicer high streets, safer communities, and preserving civic community assets. Those are the types of things that people want to do to level up their areas, and now they're being backed with £1 billion in long-term funding and putting local people in charge to bring about that change.
Liz Truss is going to say she wants corporation tax cut. Michael Gove has said that he would like to see tax cuts before the next election. Would you like tax cuts before the next election?
We're all Conservatives. Of course we want to cut taxes. The best tax cut, though, that I can deliver right now for the country is to halve inflation. It's inflation which is putting the prices of things up. Inflation impacting the cost of living. Inflation that's eating into people's savings, their bank accounts, their wallets. And that's why the first of my priorities is to bring inflation down, to halve it. And I'm pleased that we're making progress. I know things are still tough, but the last few months of data should give us comfort and reassurance that we're getting there. Inflation is coming down, as I said it would. We're going to stick to the course, and that is the best way for me to help people.
More than 30 of your colleagues have said they won't vote for your budget if it raises taxes. Can you reassure them that they won't be put in that position?
What all Conservatives wants to see are taxes coming down. Of course they do. That's what I want to see. But the best tax cut that we can deliver right now is to halve inflation. Now, that's something that I'm deeply committed to. It's the first of my 5 priorities. Why? Because that's how we can help people with the cost of living. We just want to put more money in people's pockets. And the best way to do that right now is through halving inflation. And that is a deeply Conservative approach to this. And my colleagues understand that. This is what Margaret Thatcher did. This is what Nigel Lawson did. This is in the tradition of great Conservative governments bringing inflation down, because that's the bedrock on which you build a strong economy, and that is the best way to help people with the cost of living.
Inflation isn't actually a tax, though, is it?
But it effectively acts like a tax, and it's a tax that impacts the poorest the most. That's why Margaret Thatcher made it a priority to combat inflation, and that's what I'm doing, because when we bring inflation down, that will then unlock so many good things for the country, but crucially, it will ease the burden on the cost of living, and that's what I want to do as Prime Minister. That's why it's the first of my 5 priorities, and the plan is working. Inflation is coming down. I said it would. We've got to stick to the course, and we will get the job done.
And finally, on Ukraine, Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev has said today that any British military personnel who are in Ukraine training the Ukrainians would be a legal target for the Russians. Can you see a time when British troops will be in Ukraine training the Ukrainians, as your Defence Secretary has suggested?
Yeah, I think there's been some misreporting about this, so I'm pleased to just be absolutely clear about what's happening. Now, people will know for a long time that we've been training Ukrainian citizens and soldiers. We've been doing that here in Britain. We've taken a lead on that, and lots of other countries have joined our effort, and it's making a huge difference, and we'll continue to do that. And what the Defence Secretary was saying was that it might well be possible one day in the future for us to do some of that training in Ukraine. But that's something for the long term, not the here and now. There are no British soldiers that will be sent to fight in the current conflict. That's not what's happening. What we are doing is training Ukrainians. We're doing that here in the UK. It's something that everyone should be proud of, because it's making an enormous difference. The Ukrainians are very grateful for it, and it's something that lots of other countries have joined us in doing.